Peggy 3.
Hello and welcome to the Play Like a Legend Championships preview show. Now the live Season 1 final is just a few days away. The online qualifiers have finished. What are we going to expect? Well, I'm here with pro player Dave Bytheway and we're going to talk about who the big players taking part in the tournament are and exactly how things work. So Dave, over $30,000 up for grabs. Before we talk about the key individuals, how does the structure of the tournament work?
Okay, so we're going to have 16 players battling it out in 4 groups of 4, the top 2 of which will then progress into the knockout stages.
Okay, so the 2 best players from each group go through. What happens after that?
After that, we're going to be left with 8 quarter-finalists. It will play each other home and away. The winners will then go into the semi-final, final, where we will get our eventual winner. Okay,
that's the structure of the tournament covered. Tell us about some of the people you think might do well in this Season 1 final.
Firstly, I've got Bruce Granek. He's probably the biggest name in competitive FIFA. He's a multiple world champion. He's got absolutely bags of experience. He goes by the nickname La Machine, purely because he shows absolutely no emotion when he plays a game.
Okay, well we know about Bruce, he's a very experienced player, but I've got some information here based on how he's played in the past on Ultimate Team, what we think maybe he's going to go with in terms of players. Now, we're pretty sure he might be playing a 4-2-3-1 formation. First off, how do you feel about that one?
Most competitive players will be using that purely because it's got the perfect balance between defence and attack. You've got 2 centre defensive mids, as well as a striker, 2 wide players and a centre attacking mid. Yeah,
it's definitely a popular one. And also I've noticed he's got a strong Man City connection in his team. A lot of players from that club. We've got Mangala, Kompany, Clichy, Yaya Toure, Aguero. Is that quite a strong club in your opinion in terms of Ultimate Team players?
If you're going to select a back 3 or a back 4, I think those players would definitely be on there. Kompany, Mangala, purely because they're big, they're strong, they're not going to lose much in the air. Clichy, he's pretty tall as well, he's got a lot of pace. Toure and Aguero, I don't really need to say a lot about those, are the best in their positions.
Okay, Bruce is definitely one to watch. Who else have you got your eye on?
Another French player is Epsilon Vinch. He's a young player, but he's a world champion.
Yeah, Vinch, I've seen Vinch play quite a lot actually. He's very good, very good. And I've got some more information what we think he might line up with. They're going to be another Premier League based team, I think. Another 4-2-3-1 as well. A lot of Chelsea boys in here. We've got Schürrle, we've got Cuadrado, obviously very much liked because of his pace. We've got Diego Costa. We've got some interesting people in there as well, like Nedum Nua's made the team. What do you think about that?
If I had to pick between him and Kompany, there's no real competition, but it's all down to preference.
Particularly with Cuadrado as well, we need to look out for Cuadrado in Vinch's team because I know he's got a really strong goals per game ratio with Cuadrado, so that right hand side is obviously quite dominant for him. And his bench as well, right? Listen to this bench, Ibarbo, Gervinho and Dumba, that triple Roma pace attack. If he gets those guys off the bench early doors, that could be all sorts of problems for his opposition.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see quite a lot of Italian teams throughout this tournament purely because of those 3. Like the chemistry between those is just, it's insane. So if he finds himself struggling late on in a game, he'll just bring those 3 on and it'll frighten any opponent.
It could change the game. Well, that's going to be interesting to see how Vinch gets on then. Who else we got? Who else do you like?
Well, now we've got a UK player. It's Tass and he's one of the best players in the UK. This is because he's a very good, patient player. He'll keep the ball a lot. He's very skillful and he's got a very, very solid defence.
Lots of different things to talk about here, but there's one standout thing, which is Luis Suarez in CDM. Now, I've seen strikers used there before, but I've never seen Suarez that far deep on the pitch. What do you think about that?
It's a strange decision, and it's definitely a risk, but the reason behind it is, a lot of the times when you play a 4-2-3-1 formation, your centre defensive mids will be like on the edge of the box, like just for corners and like things like that, and you'll want to get a shot off with them, and usually centre defensive mids, they won't have great shooting stats. So obviously if a shot, the ball falls out to Suarez, you're going to fancy him to score if he shoots from the edge of the box. So that's definitely the thinking behind that.
Okay, well there's a few other things to talk about in his team. I mean, he's got some informs, quite a few informs, I think 4 in there he might use. He's got Ronaldo and Messi. Now both of them in the same lineup. We've got the Liga BBVA connection there. That could be causing all sorts of problems. Benzema up top. Would you have gone with Benzema at the top of a Spanish league strike force?
I would have gone for the informed Griezmann just because he's got a bit more pace, and I'm not really a fan of Benzema. Although he's got a good rating, he never seems like he justifies it like on the pitch. He doesn't really like do a lot for me.
And then finally, I mean, he's got Team of the Year Cruz, but is Cruz one of the best ones? Do you think he could have gone with someone else, or maybe a different CDM from La Liga?
I would have gone for a more defensive, centre defensive mid, purely because he's got Suarez like partnering him. So you would have thought that he would have gone for a very defensive, centre defensive mid, then a very attacking one, just to kind of balance it out a bit, because obviously Suarez in defence is not going to be doing that great.
Okay, so Tass's team, lots to talk about, lots to look out for when he does play. Who else do you think might do well in this tournament?
Next we've got a Spanish player, Fer Perry, or Fernando Martinez as his name is. He's a very, very good attacking player, as he's proved in the past. He attacks with a style it's not really seen a lot. He's very skillful, but he does a lot of things that you just wouldn't expect, which is why he's so lethal in attack.
We don't know exactly who he's going to go with, but we have a reason to believe he may be using some legends. Right now, there's a rule with legends in this tournament. You can only use 3 in your starting 11, no more than 3. But we know 4 legends that he likes using, so it's probably going to be 3 of these 4. And they are Okocha, a 5-star skiller obviously, Figo, Weah and Pele. Who's your favourite out of them lot?
Okocha for the 5-star skill moves, got to be. The difference between 4 and 5 is there's so many more like effective moves that you can do with 5, which is why a lot of people like have Ronaldo in the squad, other than the fact like he's obviously the best player on the game. But it can really make the difference in those tight games.
Okay, so we'll look forward to seeing what Perry does. Who's next?
All right, lastly, we've got Spencer Ealing. Now, unlike everyone else that I've mentioned so far, Spencer is actually a really unexperienced player. He's only been to 1 LAN tournament and he actually won it.
I've got to say, it's one of the most interesting teams because he could potentially be lining up to start with Aaron Lennon and Balassi on each side of the flanks. Like, what do you think about those two? They're not the strongest players.
Well, they've definitely got a lot of pace between them, but I don't think they're going to be used a lot. I think they're definitely going to get subbed straight off along with Remy. Now,
on his bench, he may get involved, maybe in early substitutions we spoke about, is Ronaldo. His goals per game ratio with Ronaldo is unbelievable. We're looking at nearly 2 goals per game, all right? So that's going to be effective. He's obviously going to be using Ronaldo in some form in pretty much every match he plays. He's got Robben on the bench. He's got Luis Gustavo, Jovetic. What do you think of these guys?
He's just keeping his options open, although, like we've said, he's probably going to sub 3 on straight away. He doesn't necessarily have to, and he might not do it. And if he doesn't do it, then he's got a lot of options to pick from, like throughout the team, not just in attack. But Ronaldo with his 2 goals a game, that's definitely saying to me he's coming on as a striker straight away.
This substitution tactic though, whilst it could be effective, it's risky, isn't it? Because especially if he does all 3 early on, what happens if he gets someone sent off? He wants to change up the formation, he's got no option.
Yeah, well, you're right. If he does get a centre-back sent off, for example, then he's going to have to play someone out of position, and you don't want anyone from like an attacking player or midfielder for that matter playing in defence, because it can really cost you late on in the game.
Well, we'll see what happens with that. I'm sure someone's going to do 3 early substitutions at some point, and that could be something that happens. But Spencer's another interesting player to look out for sure. Right, so there's some of the people to keep an eye on. We'll definitely look out for them. But it's not just about the people taking part, is it? It's also about the environment. These guys are going to be playing in the Gfinity Arena in London. It's a huge cinema screen. There's going to be hundreds of people watching. How will that affect people?
Well, this is where experience is key. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the players. It's a whole new kettle of fish to playing in your room with your slippers on, a cup of tea at the side. But then again, that being said, Spencer he came from that scenario. He was playing in his room, he hadn't been to a tournament, he went to his first one and he won it, so who knows what to expect.
All right, with all that in mind, who do you tip to win the Season 1 final this weekend?
Based on the information that we've had, I'm going to go with Spencer. He's used his team a lot, he knows which players work in certain positions, and most of his players have been there from the start, so he's definitely my choice.
I'm not going to go with Spencer, I'm actually going to go with Bruce, because he's been there, he's done that, it's a big stage, he excels on the big stage, so my tip is Bruce Granek. Well, there you go. They are some of the key players to look out for at the Play Like a Legend live Season 1 final. It's taking place this weekend in London at the Gfinity Arena. Dave, thank you very much for joining us. I'm looking forward to seeing if some of our predictions come true. It's going to be a great event. You can watch it all live at twitch.tv/GFinityTV. We'll be there. Make sure you are too.